friends. Welcome to the Overcomers, a movement and a group of people who have overcome, and they've got a story. That's what the Overcomers is all about. You sharing your story. Why? Because there is power in your story, and people need you. They need your voice. They need your story of hope, faith, and inspiration that where they're at right now is not the end. They need to know if you can overcome, so can they. Today, I'm excited to share with you another story of one such overcomer. So let's go check out who it is. I'm honored to be here today with my friend, Johnny Scott. Johnny, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Jen. It's exciting. I'm excited.
So a few things about Johnny. If you don't know him, like I have had the pleasure of getting to know him, I'd like to share a few facts about my friend before we start. Johnny is a husband and father to 5 beautiful kids. Johnny was living by default. His life was spiraling out of control. His vision for his future, so negative. He found himself incarcerated. But then something happened. Now, Johnny is living his life by design. Not only no longer incarcerated, but succeeding. He's a business owner, professional chef, and soon to be author. Now inspiring those still incarcerated with hope for their own future. And that's actually what I'm blown away most by with you, my friend, is your heart for others. Not only have you overcome so much, but you are now throwing that lifesaver back to those still desperate for hope, for something better, like you once were. You're an inspiration, a light of what freedom can truly look like, not only for others, but your family too. You are caring, kind, generous, and genuine. You're teachable, and you take action. You're a leader, a good father, husband, and I know this is only the beginning of all that is yet for you and for so many others who you inspire with your story today. So Johnny, tell us your story. Take us back there. Take us on that journey of where you were to where you are now and how you got there. It's so inspiring.
Yes. So awesome. Thank you for having me, Jen. Thank you to the overcomers, all the overcomers that have come before me. It's been awesome hearing those stories. Well, Johnny Scott, born and raised, Southern bred from South Carolina. Have both beautiful, loving parents. Have a brother, and I, just during, growing up in South Carolina, I really just didn't have, I don't feel like I was like guided. I didn't have a vision for what I wanted to do, with my future. Like most people, I want to become a fireman officer, thing like that. Didn't have just the real, vision for what I want to do with my future. And so I kind of found myself just kind of coasting really in life, like just kind of under the radar, with not a real vision, like out of high school, not really. I was just kind of going through the motions, basically, or just trying to satisfy my parents with, any satisfactory grade, However, after graduating high school, again, not really focused. I did go to college, but I dropped out of college. I had a son. So now, I'm thrown into full responsibility now mode for another life. And I've always had a job, always worked, but I kind of, I was under the radar doing some, other things that kind of led to a life that was going down a path of destruction. And then this, let's see, there was this moment where again, I have a child that I need to care for, and something needs to change, about, my life. So I had this crazy idea of doing some more of this illegal stuff, and then saving up to actually quit, having enough funds to quit doing the illegal stuff to begin a legal life, which is weird anyway. However, it was, um, I consider it was my 5-year plan, right? And so me and a couple of my buddies, right, we came up with this plan, to commit a robbery. Um, and of course, we come up with the plan, and I'm the only one who actually gets caught, right? Yeah. So, so as I'm in front of the judge says, um, Johnny, first he said, why would you wait till the middle of your life to commit a crime that could put you away for the rest of your life? And remember, she said middle of my life. I was like 25. So of course, like I said, I was under the radar for a long time. So why would you commit a crime? Why would you wait till the middle of your life to commit a crime that could put you away for the rest of your life? And my only answer was just stupid mistake, Judge. And again, I didn't have any kind of records, so it's like a first offenders kind of thing. Um, However, she said, "Do you know that this sentence can carry up to 30 years?" And my eyes open like, okay, 30 years, like no. But she didn't give me 30 years. She reduced it to 15. Then she reduced it to 7. And then I'm sitting there like, okay. Then she reduced it again to 3 years. So she sentenced me 3 years with 2 years probation. Now remember, I came up with my own 5-year plan of how I was going to change my life. And now I commit a crime to go to jail, and the judge gives me her 5-year plan for my life.
Wow.
Which I say that's God's 5-year plan for my life. I did grow up in the church, but again, flying under the radar, and but I truly believe that the whole time I was out there, in the streets, to say, that God had a hand over my life. When I look back over, I just know that there's situations that I've been in, things that have happened, that I just know that He was protecting me, even when I was doing illegal stuff. So at this moment, maybe it was the Holy Spirit that was saying, you need to change your life. And I made that decision to say, okay, I'm going to do this to change my life. But God was like, okay, you're not getting it. so I wouldn't recommend you having to go to jail to change your life. But hey, that was my situation. So that's what happened. I had 3 years with 2 years probation. And so I got there, and long story short, while I was there, I got a job in the kitchen. And, they were like, hey, you get your job, you can, make your time easier, your time will pass easy. And, you could get out early for good time, for good behavior, stuff like that. So I got a job in the kitchen, and loved it, started loving it. And I was cooking for maybe 9 to like 1,200 inmates, like every day, And I actually became the head baker of the institution before I left there, which was really cool. But actually, that's where I began. That's where I actually learned how to cook for a large group of people. Now, when I was growing up during the holidays, my mom would always keep me by her side as she was making like holiday dishes and things like that. So mom definitely gave me that inspiration, but it was never like, hey mom, I want to become a chef when I get older, So so this is where I learned how to cook while I was incarcerated. And funny thing is, I was actually encouraged by fellow inmates. They were like, hey man, when you get out, you need to go to school because you're really good and we don't want to see you coming back and forth through the system.
Aw.
So I was like, okay, when I get out, I'm gonna get out, gonna go to school. So I get out, and my first job was not in cooking. My first job was with a church member who gave me an opportunity. It was in roofing, right? I just needed a job. I didn't care. I just needed a job, right? But then he saw my experience. He saw me on the roof. He was like, "No, you're gonna kill yourself. You're gonna die before the end of the week." So he's like, and he was working. This gentleman was working side by side with my uncle, who was also in construction. So he says, "Let me go ask your uncle if he have a position for you, because I can." You're like, "You're gonna give me a heart attack, man. On this roof." So my uncle gave me a job working in construction, and so working with him for a couple of years, I told my uncle, I said, "Hey, I like to get a job in what I'm going to school for." So he gave me his blessing to kind of go to school. I was going to school at night. He worked with me, and then he gave me his blessing to leave his position, his company, to go get my first job in a restaurant. So I attended culinary school. Fun fact, I learned to cook before I went to culinary school. Yeah, I learned to cook when I was incarcerated before I went to culinary school and got my degree. It was funny. But from there, now I've gone to culinary school. I've got my first job. Now, there was a challenge with the application. I had always had this over my head, like, I've got a felony now, and I have to apply for this job, but I want to be honest. So what I did was I just put it all out on the application, and the manager said, "Well, we really need someone, and I just hope you don't let us down." And I looked her in the eye and I said, "Ma'am, I will not let you down." And I was there for 3 years, and I was like the headline cook, at that position, and that was a success. I'll never forget that she gave me that opportunity, but I had to go in there and be honest. So from there, I met my beautiful wife, who served in the Air Force, served in the military, and so we met, and we got married in 2009. And from there, we lived in Tennessee before. We lived in Tennessee. That's where she was stationed at the time. And so now I'm newly married. I have my degree. I have experience in the food service, and now I can't find a job. And I'm like, oh man, so not wanting to make excuses, I had to go back to my roots. I'm a country boy. I'm not afraid of the forest. So I had a gentleman that was a part of our church who owned a farm, and he had, equipment. So what I did was I went around the neighborhood putting out flyers for, raking leaves and cutting grass, right? As a husband, as a provider, I had to do what I had to do, right? So I was making pretty good money, actually, doing that. But that same gentleman, he said, "Well, you said that you can cook, and I'm going to have some family over for the holidays, and I like you prepare a meal for us." Oh. So I did that. It was a success, and that was actually my first catering gig, right? So that made me believe that I could actually do this. I don't have to actually apply to, for a job anymore. I'm like, maybe I can actually do this. So set up the business and everything, and I actually started advertising and got my first client, who was actually another military family who wanted meals prepared for them, while her husband was deployed. So she was my very first client, and I was grateful for that. And then my wife, one day she says, honey, I've got orders to go to Germany. Yeah. And I'm like, what? I just started the business, we're going to do what? And I said, well, I'll tell you what, let's go. We'll just cook in Germany. How about that? So we made a decision to go. And that's where we had our first child was born in Germany. And now here's where the whole, mission kitchen started. So we attended a church, in Germany. The name of the church was called City Mission. Now, this church would go out in the community, serve the community. They would partner with grocery stores to be able to salvage, any goods before it was thrown out. And then they would take it to the homeless in the community. And we were a part of that. It was the first church that I actually experienced that mirrored, like I would say, mirrored the Bible, with the way that they served the community and their food pantry and all that kind of stuff. So that was amazing. So that was a transformation for me. And that church also had a commercial kitchen in their basement. So I was wondering how could I utilize my time, my talent, and so what I would do was I would do cooking classes for women and children, and then I would do cooking classes for men, things like that. But jokingly, I would introduce myself as Chef Johnny. Hi, I'm Chef Johnny. Welcome to the missions kitchen. Right? So it was a cool little play on words, but so that happened. I catered a few events, while in Germany. And then we came back to the States. Came back to the States after about 3 years. And I told my wife, I said, honey, I need to start back up my catering company. But I don't know what to call it. Well, the first company was called Layers of Flavor. The first company was called Layers of Flavor. And now I've been doing this, mission kitchen thing, for like 2 or 3 years. And I was like, okay, well, what am I going to call it? She said, and my wife was like, well, why don't you just call it the Mission Kitchen? And I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to roll with it. And I didn't feel that it was a catering company's name, but I realized that it was a different mission. It was a mission that I was on. And so that's what kind of transformed it. And I was like, okay, God, this is your thing. This is not my thing. Because I had to remember that I never desired to become a chef. And it was only after being incarcerated that I learned the skill set. And I came home, and now this is basically God put me on this mission, right? And so now it's like, God, this is your thing. It's not my thing. So, help me stay focused here. So I named it the Mission Kitchen, and I just got out. I started, when we first arrived to the States, what I wanted to do was I just wanted to go to there's this building that's called the USO on the military base, and they serve families, soldiers. It's more like they would have a rehabilitation for injured soldiers, things like that. And all I wanted to do is come in, prepare some omelets on Saturday morning. I just wanted to, I just wanted to hone my skills and just kind of serve, the community that I was in, at that time. And they said, oh, well, actually, that's great because we're looking for a chef to teach our cooking classes. I was like, what? Sign me up right now. I'm ready. And I did that for about maybe 5 years, actually. So I served there once a month for about 5 years, and actually got a lot of business for just, from doing those cooking classes. Or at this time, remember, I said, God, I feel like God put me on this mission, but I was still trying to make sure that I advertise myself as a professional company. But I was tied up in what I thought people would think about. Mm. So I actually when people would ask me, they would ask me two questions. They would ask me, where did you go to school? And then they would ask me, the other question would be, well, where did you learn how to cook? Well, where did you learn to cook? And so I could feel inside of me how I was responding to each of those questions differently. And I felt that I wasn't being genuine and I wasn't honoring God by the way I was answering the question, because I had more pride in telling people where I went to school. So I was like, oh, see, I went to the Culinary Institute of Savannah in Savannah, Georgia. You know, I got my degree, this and that there. But then they would say, well, where did you learn to cook? Oh, well, that's another story. See, well, what had happened was, you know, but God convicted me, right? And he convicted me. He was like, why do you keep telling the story differently when it comes to, you know, the truth about things, you know? And what I realized is I was like, share your story. People want to hear your story. Share your story. You're going to inspire a whole lot of people, you know? Well, he wasn't telling me that. He was just like, share it, stop, you know, he just stopped, you know, it was like more of, stop being more prideful about, you know, where you went to school and less, you know, confident about where you learned to cook. So, so then I began sharing my story, and I went through a series of, I went through a 12-step study program. You know, it's like AA for Christians, you know, it was called CR, I forgot the name of it, but it was like AA for Christians, you know. And so I went through this 12-step study program where you kind of confess certain things, you share things that you hadn't shared before with anyone else in a specific group. It's never supposed to go out of the group and all of the stuff. And I felt like God was telling me to release a lot of things. Just speak a lot of things, you know, just get rid of it, because I feel like the enemy was kind of was trying to shape my image by helping me protect all these things, you know? And I was like, no, this is the moment to share it. Once I shared it, it's like I freed myself. And I wasn't I got rid of the shame. And then that made me more open in my story. Yeah. My gosh, I got more business from sharing my story than advertising and marketing. People were like, I don't care. Hey, can you just come cater for us? Can you just come cook for us? I love your story, you know, just like, and it just went crazy, and it was awesome. And then it came to maybe 2 years ago where we had just had our third child, and we needed to make a move because my wife was retiring soon. So our best bet was to move. So we moved to the state of Texas, and at this time, the better decision was to make the move. And so I had to uproot the company, and I was like, well, you know, I'll just start up again when I get to Texas, you know. But it wasn't that easy because COVID happened. So here's another, you know, overcoming that has to be done. So through all of that, when we arrived in Texas, it was not the perfect time to start up a company with, you know, 3 children, you know, at home, kind of juggling a few things. I tried a few, you know, home-based businesses that were really great. It was just me having to transform myself and learn some new skill sets. And I remember one thing that our coach said. She said, when the one thing that you know how to do isn't working for you, are you willing to learn a new skill set? So that transformed my mindset, that it didn't matter, you know, what was going on. Are you willing to learn a new skill set in the environment that you're in that can help you provide for your family? And so that's what I did. And then we came, you know, so at the same time, I was still laying foundations for eventually getting back into my field, you know, the culinary field. So I had been laying those foundations, taking online courses, staying, up on regulations and stuff like that, but still trying other home-based businesses, to kind of keep things going. But here we are today, which some really exciting news, that I have a few meetings, that I'll be attending. But I'm excited to say that, we're back in business. And yeah, that is this story is continuing, it's
Yes.
yeah. So
Yes.
I'm super excited. Glad to be here doing this interview today. Glad to begin to share my story. It's been quite some time that I have not been talking about it. I haven't been sharing it. And I think it's just because of all of what's been happening with our country and things like that. But I realized that, the Bible says that all things are possible to those who
Yes.
believe. And I was like, God,
Mm.
this is the moment that I need to trust you even more.
Yes.
My faith needs to be even greater now that
Mm.
you can do these things that I'm desiring to do.
Yes.
And I just need to surrender to you and watch you work.
So good.
Yeah.
So good, friend. Well, thank you so much for sharing that journey with us and being so vulnerable.
Oh
You
my
know,
gosh.
I've known you for a while now, but getting to hear like the nitty-gritty story of where you were to where you are now and hearing the details of that entire journey, I have to tell you, I have so much more respect for you knowing the whole journey. More respect, not less. And I know
Thank
that's a
you.
common theme that you mentioned started happening as you got vulnerable, but I respect you more because it shows me that when you were in that place, you decided, you made a choice not to stay stuck. And that makes you so much more respectable. And not only that, you took action and you decided to be teachable. And you continued to be teachable to the point of when he tried to show you something or tell you something, you listened. And now look at your journey. Look at all that he has done and is continuing to do. I'm so
Yes.
proud of you. But I want
Thank
to
you.
go back to
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
moment and
Let's do it.
ask you some very specific questions. So, because I know there's probably people who are listening or will be listening to this story who have maybe been at that place. Take me back to that moment of when you're sentenced and you knew, oh my gosh, I'm going to prison for a year and then have to deal with probation. What did that feel like for you?
Um, I didn't take it serious. I didn't really take it serious in the beginning because again, like I said, it was a first offense in that area. So I figured it was actually going to be a slap on the wrist. Um, but what happened was, I believe what happened was, um, I was let out on bail. I was bailed out, and while I was on bail, I I committed another crime. So, so while I was out on bail, I committed another crime, and I actually I'm not excusing myself from the situation. It wasn't a crime that I committed. It was having someone else with me that we got pulled over. There was some paraphernalia in the vehicle, and then it was like, okay, you're out on bail, and now this. So it's like, okay, you probably need to go to jail, sir. Like you're not getting it. Um, so what that felt like was, again, I didn't take it serious, but when she gave me when she kept remember when she kept reducing the sentence from 30 all the way
Yeah.
down, I thought she was just going to get the only thing I heard, I didn't hear the 3 years, 2 years probation. I only heard the 2-year probation. So I was like, okay, cool, 2 years probation. Wow. Then she's like, oh no, you're going to jail, you're going to go to jail. But I hope you learn your lesson. I hope you kind of take this time to reflect. And so then it kind of reality kind of sunk in. It was like, okay, I'm actually going now. And what I began to do, honestly, I think everybody does it. That's just the mindset. I picked up my Bible.
Yeah.
And I just started reading my Bible again, but something was very different, about this moment, this time.
Mm.
I began to be more serious about reading, the Bible. And I know everyone says it, like, everybody picks up the Bible, everyone gets, kind of religious when they go to jail. But I could feel the difference for myself, that I was like, I need to take this time and just focus. I need to get my life together. And, that's what I did.
So awesome. Was there a specific moment as you were then, getting more focused and getting in his word? Was there a moment where something specific happened that, really made that trajectory change for you?
I believe it was just reading the scriptures and actually being in a position of practicing those scriptures when you're around, people people who come from all kinds of backgrounds, and you have to live with these people day and night. But what was pretty awesome was um, actually practicing the scriptures, loving your neighbor, um, honoring others. You know what I mean? Just kind
Mm.
of learning how to, communicate with people who are, not on the same page with you, and people who don't believe how you believe. I think I just started learning how to interact with people, and it was strange, but I was practicing everything I was reading. I was trying to put into play everything that I was reading in the scriptures. And I was like, well, jail is the perfect place to practice the Bible, because, but yeah, if anything specific happened, it was just a transformation of um, my character.
Mm.
It wasn't just that, I'm here in prison, or I have this, I have to portray this image because I'm here. Um, my character was changed, you know, and I wasn't just acting like, an inmate, you know, um, and I was treating other people like they were people, you know what I mean? And not just, you have to pay attention, but it's just like I was someone, you kind of get what you give. So you respect others, then you kind of receive the same thing. And, there's other issues that you have to, you deal with because you're there. But other than that, I think my character, began to change and develop. Yeah.
Wow, so good. And what an environment to decide to make that
Oh,
decision. Like,
yeah.
talk about one of the most challenging environments to make that decision and be like, okay, maybe, this is a crazy environment to make that choice in, but I'm going to do it anyways.
Yeah.
Like, what person in jail is thinking, how can I honor other people that are
Yeah.
here? So
Yeah.
set apart, my friend. And it totally explains how that path started changing for you and why you got to where you are now,
Awesome.
little by little.
Yeah.
So good. So good. So tell us more about the Mission Kitchen. I know people are probably listening today who are wondering, how can I come beside people who are trying to change their life and do want to use that experience to put them in a place later that does have hope and a vision and a future, just like yours is, and has. Tell us more about the Mission Kitchen and how people could get involved with you.
So with the Mission Kitchen, the vision was to eliminate every excuse that I could give myself why why someone can be successful in life after having made mistakes, right? And so what I would do was I would visit like the juvenile detention centers. I would be talking to them about what they could be doing at this time, preparing themselves to get out. You know, and I found that most people they kind of they if they have a program, they kind of wait until the person who's incarcerated is released, and they'll say, hey, come and come see me when you're out, and then we'll see how we can help you. But I felt the need to go in and engage,
Mm.
go in and build relationship, go in and talk, to them, communicate with them, so that you build relationship with them, right? Then they'll look for you, when they're released. And the vision was, I wanted to build a rehabilitation center, and to basically provide immediate work for released inmates, right? And because I know what I felt like, or having a felony, you got to put that on the application, and now it's a choice of whether they choose to hire you or not. But just having that hanging over your head. But I wanted to help others eliminate the excuse by being able to provide immediate work, so that at least that one excuse was eliminated from not being able to find a job. And then from there, you can kind of transform the mindset to other things, So, so now again, I just moved to about 2 years ago, moving to Texas. So things are just starting to kind of pick up, a little bit more. And so I'm looking forward to begin to scale, the business, to be able to provide that immediate work.
So good.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
good. So if you're listening today and you want to partner with Johnny in the Mission Kitchen, please visit his website and check him out. I know he would love to connect with you. Johnny, one last question for you. For anyone who might be listening today, I know there's probably a few people who are in that place right now. They feel so stuck. Maybe their journey has a story similar to yours, but they're still back there. They're still stuck. They're wondering, how do I take the next step? What can I do if I'm in that place? What one piece of advice would you tell that person today?
But honestly, what transformed for me was seeking the Creator, seeking the Father. Life is about choices, and you can make choices, and you can make the right choices, but seeking the Creator is what transformed things for me. And that is where I believe those ideas and those thoughts and those that made me make the right decisions. Like sometimes you can just give advice and say, hey, do the right thing. But in me seeking the Father is what guided me to making those decisions. And I think a lot of times you hear about success, but people don't talk about that, about the Father. They don't talk about seeking God, building a relationship with God, and letting that be your guide, letting that be your anchor, let your word being a lamp unto my feet and a light into my path, not seeking Him for guidance. So, I mean, I cannot share this story without talking about God. I can't just, I can't just give people, well, how the Mission Kitchen started? Well, I went to culinary school and I did this or that, I cannot share the story without talking about God. So that'd be my advice. Seeking the Father is how how vision is going to come to you, how decision-making is going to help you. That's all I have. I mean, that's what helped me. So I share that.
So good, friend. And wow, has He redeemed your story and everything that you have been through.
Yeah.
You are such a light and such an inspiration. And I know that anybody who is listening to your story today has been greatly inspired. So thank you so much for your willingness to join us today. Thank you for your courage to be that vulnerable, because who knows who will be watching this video in the future. But you are so bold. You are so caring. And I'm just so thankful that you have chosen to be that light on the hill, to give honor to your Creator in everything that He has done in your journey and will yet do, not only in yours, but so many other people's lives because of your willingness to share all that He has done. And encourage those people that He can do that with your story too. So thank you again, my friend, for joining us today. You are a delight, and it has been a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
And I'm so proud of you.
I'm proud of you and the overcomers. Honestly, like this is amazing. Everyone wants to hear your story. Like when I say your story, I'm just talking about every individual.
Mhm.
Someone wants to hear your story. You know, we need to start sharing more of our stories.
Yes.
You know,
And someone
so
desperately needs to hear it.
yes, yes. So thank God for the overcomers.
Wow, wasn't that powerful? Do you have an overcomer story? Do you know someone who needs to hear this message? Please share this video on your social platforms and tag us so we know who you are. Stay tuned as we share more overcomer stories in the weeks ahead. We're looking for you. We're looking for the overcomers. Join us. Let's come together as the overcomers. Start sharing your story. We have multiple ways you can start getting involved and repping the movement, repping your story of what he has done in your life. For example, we've got journals. You can start writing your story down. Start getting it out of your head and on paper. We've got bracelets. Start repping that we're a group that are coming together to inspire people. We've got t-shirts and sweatshirts to not only remind yourself that you're filled with gold, but everybody around you, that your story is powerful. And don't forget, you can pick up a copy of Finding His Voice on Amazon. An overcomer's journey from suicide to success. An overcomer's journey which launched this very movement. And last but not least, if you want to learn how to overcome, visit www.dannyjohnson.com. That's my coach, and that's where I learned how to overcome. Thank you so much for joining with us today. We believe in you, and we believe in the power of story. We believe in your story.